Let's look at the actual rules with semicolons, colons, and dashes. Semicolons, they are basically, especially with the ACT, just combining two complete sentences. You can have a transition word between the two sentences, like they went to the store, semicolon, however, comma, they did not enjoy the shopping trip. Okay. You can have it's called a conjunctive adverb. You can have that type of transition there. The important thing to remember, though, is you absolutely cannot use a fanboy conjunction with a semicolon, okay, when you're combining two complete sentences. A way to remember, does semicolon work here, is it can replace a period. Okay, if it works, you're like, oh, hey, two complete sentences, then you know it's a semicolon. Okay. All right, let's see if the color black shows up. Yeah. All right, so after seeing that the amusement park had 4 roller coasters, okay, Maria was determined to ride them all. This is a complete sentence, but this is not. Okay, and so you can't use a semicolon. Keyword after, that's a preposition, so you know that is a dependent clause, independent clause, and according to the rules the ACT tests on, it should be a comma right there. The amusement park had 4 roller coasters. That's now a complete sentence. Maria was determined to ride them all. That is now a complete sentence. Okay. All right. There's a lot of semicolons on the ACT. One of the things to think about, though, is they'll put the semicolons as an answer, but they'll also mix it up. Okay. Luckily, it's pretty simple. You just have to remember independent clause, which is a complete sentence, independent clause. Okay. You just want to make sure, though, that they haven't thrown in something else like a subject-verb agreement or a pronoun antecedent, something wonky. If the only difference between two answers is that one has a period and one has a semicolon, both answers have to be wrong. Okay, this is one of those things where I used my technique of looking at the answer choices first and going through and going, oh, wait a minute, we've got a semicolon and a period. Let's check and see, can we just knock those out? There is another one. It's not used very often, and it's not going to be on the ACT, but I want to cover it quickly just in case I'm wrong. Okay, and this is where you have items in a series because you're listing items in a series that contain a comma. Okay, what do I mean by that? My whole family was at the reunion, including my cousins, Kristen and Jeremy. Okay, that semicolon. My aunts, Tracy and Megan. Because what they've done is you're actually listing positives. And so you've got a comma right here within your list. And so you can't have all those commas. It just doesn't work. It confuses the reader. So what they've done is they've kept the rule for positives, your comma, and they've switched the items in a series rule to semicolons. Okay, but you should not see that one on the ACT. It is not common, so this is just in case. This is what I was talking about earlier. You use a semicolon before conjunctive adverb if combining two complete sentences. Okay, they love to put these on the ACT. Okay, when you see these words, your mind should automatically go semicolon or semicolon, that word, and then a comma. Because these words, they're conjunctive adverbs. They combine. Okay, they're a type of transition. And their only purpose in a sentence or sentences is to combine. So they are either combining two sentences or they are combining two thoughts within a sentence. If they are combining two sentences, it is going to be a semicolon between them. If they are combining two thoughts within a sentence, it's going to be comma, comma. Okay. But those are the ones that are the most common on there. Know them. Another tip, and you'll see this later on, is to know what these words mean. Like, however, that means but. Okay. Furthermore means and. So knowing the definitions of those transition words will help you on at least 4 different questions on the test. Because a lot of times what they do is they like to give you the wrong transition word. But we'll go into that on the transition word one. All right, so colons. They must always follow a full sentence that can stand on its own. Okay, so you're going to have a complete sentence, and then your colon. This is where you've got something different than maybe what you've seen. What comes after it can be a complete sentence or a fragment. Okay. What's important, though, for the ACT is that this explains. And I lost my pen. If you can't tell, my handwriting's worse. Sorry. If that explains or describes your independent clause, then the colon is correct. Okay. This is the one that is tested on the ACT, and it's going to be on there, I think, twice. The other one that lists, you're not going to see that on the ACT. If it's on there, it's because they're testing a different skill with it. It's not testing you to see if that one's used correctly. What they test you for the colon rule is, do you realize this is an independent clause, colon, and then a complete sentence or a fragment that explains that first complete sentence. Oh, I already said that. Okay. This is the rule tested on the ACT. When the Manchus took control in China in 1644, the Great Wall ceased to have military significance. That is a complete sentence. The empire now extended well north of the wall, and China's new enemies came from a different direct area across the sea. That's actually one that was on the ACT. They like the longer, complicated sentences because it throws you off, but it's still the same concept. So you have this colon because this second sentence is explaining the first one or going into more detail, expanding on it. Okay, it explains why. Okay. In this case, the colon is grammatically identical to the period or semicolon. I put that on there because it was in the ACT prep book, and so I wanted you to have it. But I would caution you about this, okay? Because it's not always like this. You can't always replace a colon with a period or a semicolon, and I don't want you to get it in your head that, hey, we can always do that. So it's there because it was in the ACT prep book, but just be careful. Here's an incorrect example. Liz went to the costume shop for supplies she needed for Halloween, including. This is not a complete sentence. You have to have a complete sentence. Okay. Liz went to the costume shop for supplies she needed for Halloween. Complete sentence. Okay. This is a list. Okay. A list that is explaining what she went to the shop for. Okay. And that's what you have to look for. Complete sentence. Okay. And then your colon. And then your explanation or description. All right. Let's see if you can do some practice. Unwilling to let her daughter walk to school alone. Semicolon. Emily accompanied her every day. So ACT prep strategy, I'm looking at my choices here. I've got no change, period, comma, and colon. So I know I need to go through and look for complete sentences. That's the first thing. I also know that from here to here is not a complete sentence. Semicolon, no. Okay, period, no. Because those are only used when you have two complete sentences. This is a dependent clause. Oh, can't be this one because independent clause has to come first. And so that leaves us with, it should be a colon. I was halfway through my grocery shopping when I got a text from my mom. She wanted me to pick up some extra salsa. Okay, so looking at my answer choices, I'm looking for a comma, semicolon, colon. All right, so is this a complete sentence to this point? I was halfway through my grocery shopping when I got a text from my mom. It is. Okay, so I'm going to cross that one out. Now, what do I have difference? I have a colon, semicolon, and a colon again. Okay, why do I have two colons here? So now I'm going to look and go, all right, what's the difference between them? Having asked me to pick up some extra salsa, asking me to pick up some extra salsa. Okay, well, asking me to pick up some extra salsa is a fragment, so I can't have a semicolon there. Okay, so that leaves me now with two colons. And which one is better? Okay. Technically, you can have a fragment after the colon. So you can't just go, oh, well, that one's wrong. It is no change because this one is wrong. What you would have to do is you have to look at it and go, which one explains the first colon better, or the first part of, or the first sentence better. And it's actually, she wanted me to pick up some extra salsa. Okay. Dash. I love dashes. Okay. For the sake of the ACT, though, you really only need to understand two uses. Marking off non-essential, just like a comma. Okay. Introducing a list or explanation, just like a colon. Let me see if I can, there we go. Make that easier for you to read. Okay. Non-essential clauses and phrases provide extra information, meaning you don't need it. It can be removed. When they're used with this extra information, make sure you don't mix them with commas. Okay? And that's one thing that you can look at on the ACT. This is one of those strategies that I use, but it's a cautionary one. I look at my answer choices. If you have one dash, you should have a second dash. You can't use a comma and a dash. And so I'll look at my answer choices and go, is there one with two commas or two dashes? And help me narrow my choices down from there. The problem is that sometimes there is an exception where they combine two rules in one. Very similar to where they use the semicolon in place of the commas earlier that I showed you. And it can throw you off. But as a rule of thumb, you cannot use a comma and a dash together. Okay. So Allie was minding her own business when her brother, comma, a mischievous 8-year-old. Okay, you see that? That needs to be a comma. Okay. So you either use a dash and a dash or a comma and a comma. Here's one from the ACT. And this is what I was talking about, where you could actually kind of see a comma near the other dash when they test two ACT rules at the same time. All kayakers can appreciate the nuances of nature as they travel on water in this simple but versatile boat. Okay, on this one, go back to my strategy, looking at what we're looking for. I've got a semicolon. I can't see what that was originally. Dash, and then nothing, no change. So it means comma. Well, just glancing at it, I know it can't be a semicolon because it's not two complete sentences. Semicolon never goes before the word but. I know from what I just said that dashes set off non-essential information, but you're going to need two, so I'm going to cross that one out. That leaves me with A and B. Now I'm going to read the sentence. All kayakers can appreciate the nuances of nature as they travel on water in this simple but versatile boat. Okay, now this is one I actually had to think about, because to me, versatile is not essential information. But for ACT, they are considering essential, and this is how we know that. If it was not essential, there would be another comma right there. And this is where you have to use the rest of the information to figure out if they look at it as necessary or unnecessary. And because there's no comma after it, they're going to say it's necessary, and so it is no comma. Okay, looking at my answer choices, I've got comma then, comma and, themes. Okay, so now looking back over here, I'm looking for, is the first part a complete sentence? As they shifted, nope, as. Okay, so I'm going to cross that one out. As they shifted away from European clock themes, that is a dependent clause. So I'm going to need a comma after that. Okay, so that still leaves me with A, B, and C. Sharp cathedral-like points and spears gave way to round-topped trees and curvy leaves. Well, no, because then that's going to create a fragment. Then that's going to, we'll get into what that makes. So it's got to be A. Okay, you're not going to use the word then with a dependent clause and an independent clause to combine them. Okay. All right, I'm looking at my choices. So I've got dash, comma, nothing. So looking over here, his plan was to create human figures in clay. I see a dash there. So I'm going to need a dash there, and that leaves us with G. Okay, quick, easy looking at it. All right, 58 is actually for a different video, so we're actually looking at just 57. I'm looking at my answer choices. I've got comma, colon, and then nothing. So I'm looking for my sentences. According to Dr. Regina Dugan, DARPA's director, the game had a serious purpose. That is a complete sentence. So I'm going to look at my choices to analyze the way, no. Colon is a possibility because that's a complete sentence. No, because that's a complete sentence, and you can't combine a complete sentence and then two without something between them. All right, so is it no change or is it a colon? To analyze the way technology can be used to share information in order to solve a problem too big for one person to solve alone. Well, that's explaining the purpose. So that is a colon right there. So I'm going to cross out A. All right, so I'm looking at my choices. I've got semicolon, comma, and then nothing, nothing, nothing. Okay, so looking at our sentence, I witnessed a dazzling catch by right fielder. Ooh, that's a name I can't pronounce. Iko Suzuki, and responded like any rowdy believer. Well, that's not two complete sentences, so I'm going to cross that one out. And now what I have to do is figure out, is it non-essential or is it essential? Because that's basically what it's asking me. Okay. It cannot be C, because we know that with non-essential, you got to have two commas or no commas. Well, that leaves us with A and D. And so, do you need his name? Well, they're watching a game. It's the right fielder, and so we don't technically have to know his name, even though it's nice to have.